ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ Verse 78 यावच्चिन्त्यस्वरूपत्वाभिमानस्वस्य जायते तावद्विचिन्त्य पश्चाच्च तथैवामृतिधारयेत्. So in this important portion, this beginning from verse 74 to 122. So Vidyanya differentiates this Nirguna Brahma Jnana Vritti and Nirguna Brahma Upasana Vritti, Jnana Abhasa Vritti. And what is this Upasana, Nirguna Brahma Upasana? Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, Aham Satyam Jagan Mithya. That's the Upasana. And one who has gained this knowledge, Aham Satyam Jagan Mithya, etc., while he is free. But this person, the one who has done Nidhyasanam, etc., and become free. But this person is doing a Upasana, Nirguna Brahma Upasana. And, well, what is the basis for this Upasana? Because he is not convinced that I am Brahman. Then why he continues like this, that I am Brahman, that kind of a thought? Why he continues like this? Well, because there is definitely Shraddha in the teacher and the Shastra also. So that's how it said in 77, Aptopadesha Vishwasya. So resorting to, well, he has a faith, resorting to that statement of the teacher, etc. Definitely he does this Upasana and he is going to gain the benefit of it. So Aptopadesha Vishwasya, well, based on that, well, he entertains this thought, even though he is not convinced that I am Brahman. He is convinced that there is a question of doing Upasana, but he is not convinced. And this entertaining such a thought, I am Brahman, etc., Aham Brahmasmi, etc., Aham Satyam Jagan Mithya, etc., how long it should continue? That is said in 78. Yavat Chintya Swarupatva Abhimana, identification. Identification with what? Chintya Swarupa, the object of meditation. Chintyam is an object of meditation. Object of Chinta is Chintyam. Object of deliberation, object of visualization, object of imagination. Chintya Swarupa, that's Nirguna Brahma. So, Abhimana. So, identification with the object of meditation, well, namely Nirguna Brahma, happens. Yavat, until then. It means it should be well entrenched. He is going to give examples also, so that identification conditioning should be well entrenched. So such things should happen. Where? Swasya, Swantakkaranasya, in one's own mind, Jayate is born. Till then, that identification with Nirguna Brahma happens in one's mind until he should continue, he should entertain this thought, Aham Brahmasmi, etc. Very important thing. Many people say we are not able to do. Please don't reject like this. Yeah, we are not able to do. That may be a cup of tea for some people in this world, very special people. It's not so. It's not so. It's a capacity of the mind, and we have experiences in other cases. Well, you have to take advantage of that capacity of the mind. So, yavat vimanah jayate. Until that abhimana arises in one's mind, one should tavat. So long, continue. Vichintya. So long while one has to practice this Nirguna Brahma Upasana. Vichintya here means Nirguna Brahma Upasanam Krutva. Practicing Nirguna Brahma Upasana. That I am Brahman, etc. And this is that can be even Soham Upasana also. If you understand the Saha is Brahman, because that is Saha. And Soham is an equation as such, but for this person it is not an equation. Saha Aham. It is like Tattvam. It is Saha Aham is well definitely is a fact, but for this person it is not a fact, and therefore he should continue this. He should carefully maintain this. And how long you should maintain? So he should practice this. Pashat means once that ascertainment is born in his mind, such kind of identification with Nirguna Brahma is born. Well, Pashat he should maintain it. Amrutihi. This Vritti. Tathaiva Amruti Dharayet. This is Upasana, and therefore Amrutihi. So Mrityu Paryantam. One has to maintain this. First, you have to entertain this thought, identify with Brahman, etc. In terms of upasana only, please understand this. And and he should continue till death. This is and this looks little a gray area. So I would like to say something about this. See, there are forget about Nididhyasanam here. It's now 3 types of upasanas are mentioned in the Shastra, in the Veda itself. The first is a Karmanga Upasana. And Karmanga Upasana is it's a upasana, which a meditation which is a part of the Vedic ritual. Karma Anga is a part of the Vedic ritual. This upasana does not exist independently. It's a part of the ritual. That's the first, Karmanga Upasana. Second is a independent upasana which we generally take a external symbol and called pratikam. Could be a Omkara Upasana also as a pratika. Omkara can be Ahangraha Upasana also. Omkara can be a pratik Upasana also. A sound symbol. Or Omkara can be, or it can be a Pratima Upasana. So Pratima or Pratika Upasana, etc., which is generally called as a Sampat Upasana. So some external symbol. Simply a sound symbol or something else. And you look upon this as a Ishvara. So definitely it is a superimposition upon Nikrushta Vastuni Utkrishta Vastvaropaha Upasanam. So Nikrushta Vastuni. In the Nikrushta Vastu, which is you do this Utkrishta Upasana. So you look upon this a simple Pratima also, just a brass piece or even a stone. You look upon as a Lord Shiva or Lord Vishnu, Shaligrama, etc. like that. So this is a Pratik Upasana, Sampat Upasana. This is the second type. It's an independent Upasana. It has no concern with a particular ritual. Doing a particular ritual only, yajna, etc. After that only it should be done. No. It is independent. It gives independent phalam also. Yeah, it gives independent phalam. So when we say, when I say independent upasana means it is giving you phalam independently. Whereas this Karmanga Upasana, that Upasana does not give you phalam. If you don't do it yajna, later after the yajna you have to do this Upasana. And so that's if you don't do yajna, that Upasana will not give phalam. This is an independent Upasana, Pratik Upasana or Sampat Upasana, etc. And the third Upasana is Ahangraha Upasana. And Ahangraha Upasana also is a independent Upasana. So, it can exist independently without any ritual. And here the Upasya Devata is not invoked in a pratika, etc. Upasa Devata is invoked upon myself. And Aham is taken as the locus of the Devata. And for all the Ahangra Upasana, well, the phalam is Upasya Devata Aikyam. You gain the oneness. Like if one does a Virat Upasana, looking upon the whole creation as Ishvara's body and the limbs, etc. That description is very much there in everywhere. Most of the stotras have the dhyana shloka in which this is it is looked upon, the devata is looked upon as the Virat Sharira. So this, if one does a Virat Upasana for length of time, I mean it's a whole throughout the life, Amritihi, it should be done. Then you gain a Virat Aikyam. Naturally, here you cannot get Aikyam. You have a limited body. How can you be one with the Virat, the Samashti Sharira? So definitely you drop this body. So Amriti, it should continue through up to the death. And later it doesn't actually takes your will, etc. We will see that. And so this is a second Upasana, or the third Upasana, I'm sorry. The Upasya Devata is not invoked in external symbol. Upasya Devata is invoked upon oneself. One is looked upon as the Upasya Devata. In our case here, Nirguna Brahma Upasnaka, he looks upon himself as a Nirguna Brahma. Anyway, what I am talking right now is a Saguna Brahma Upasana. But it has a connection. It's here also. It is a same. That's what I wanted to convey. Anyway, so the phalam is supposed to be aikyam with the upasya devata, which is otherwise called kramamukti. So Virat Upasana, if one does till the death, then one gains kramamukti. That has been discussed in the 8th chapter. So basically, the point to be noted is that Upasana is that I should invoke God as myself. And how long this should be practiced, that is the contention in a circle. Because it's like in Vedanta also this is there. Even though this is not Upasana, how long should I listen to Shastra? That is all the time there. So in Upasana also this is there. How long should... Immediately that question comes. How long? Yes, that's it. How long I should pursue knowledge? How long I should do Upasana? That is there. An answer in case of Upasana, unlike in the case of Jnanam, Amritihi. Amritihi. Mrityu Paryantam. If Upasana is there, Mrityu Paryantam. Nididhyasanam need not be throughout the life. Really. Even though Puju Swamiji generally says that one should continue Nididhyasanam throughout the life. But he gives us some general principle. But it's not a rule. In Upasana, it's a rule. Please understand, there's a difference between a Upasana and Nididhyasanam is this. Either a Saguna Brahma Upasana, Nirguna Brahma Upasana, that's not a concern. Why I brought this topic? Because here Vidyaranya says, Tavad vichintya paschat tathaiva amrutihi dharayet. Amrutihi mrityu paryantam, you have to hold this. You have to entertain this. Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. Amrutihi. There A stands for, it's a avadhi. It's avadhi, you know very well. A has two meaning. One meaning is, Maryada, and other is Abhividhi. Maryada means you exclude death. And and Abhividhi means you include death. No one can entertain this thought in death, naturally, up to death. So here, A stands for Maryada, excluding death, naturally. In death, no one can have any thought. So, Amritihi Dharayet, that's a rule, Dharayet. It's a rule in Upasana. well, throughout the life you should continue Nidhyasanam, then only you will gain Videha Mukti. No. No. If that is the case, there will not be Jivan Mukti. Yeah, there will not be Jivan Mukti. But Shastra talks about Jivan Mukti, reveals that Nidhyasanam need not be throughout the life. Once one does a Nidhyasanam for some time and gains an abundance, total abundance, he owns up the knowledge, and therefore for such a person there is no effort also to say I am Brahman, or there is no effort on his part. He has not to think, he has not to entertain a thought that I am Brahman, then only he will realize I am Brahman. No, no, not at all. That's called owning up the knowledge. So, unlike Nidhyasanam, in Sagun Brahma Upasana or Nirgun Brahma Upasana, Amrutihi is a rule. That's the thing. Anyway, and so, and of course, Nidhyasanam is a Drishtaphalam, and we don't require it, we don't do it for Punyam, etc. Whereas this Upasana, etc., it's a karma yoga, I want to say. Then it should give you the result, and for that the rule also must be there. Karma means restriction. In our Nidhyasanam case, there is no restriction as such. You follow certain rules, that's a different thing, but it's for it, but it has a Drishtaphalam. Nidhyasanam is a Drishtaphalam itself, and this Upasanam definitely is a karma, produces punyam, which gives you this result after the death. And this has been very nicely said even in there is a reference for this, and one is a Shatapatha Brahmana 10.6.3.1, well, which says whichever thought a person at the time of death has, I mean, or whatever he utters at the time of death, well, he becomes. So that's how Bhagavan also said in the 8th chapter. Anyway, so this is said in a Veda, that one has to entertain this a thought till the death. So that has been said that. And of course, Smriti Pramana means our Bhagavad Gita 8th chapter 6th verse, even 7th verse, 10th verse reveals very clearly that whatever he thinks at the time of death, he becomes after that. So if you want to become one with Ishvara at Prayana Kala, then definitely you should remember Ishvara only. And then the question comes in our mind, if how can one remember Ishvara at the time of death? That is said, but frankly speaking, if one entertains a given thought, if a person has to remember, suppose Ishvara at the time of that, so that he will become one with the Ishvara, which is called Krama Mukti, well, then his subconscious mind, well, should be saturated with the Ishvara Vasana. And our thoughts basically are influenced by will and Vasana both. So in fact, there is a constant fight between these two. Anyway, therefore, in the earlier part, the will is strong. In the later part of life, of course, the vasanas are strong. Therefore, if you entertain a certain, if you saturate your subconscious mind, which is the seat of the vasanas, if you saturate your subconscious mind with the Ishvara Vasana, with this Upasana, I am Brahman, etc., and then definitely one will have that thought even at the end of the life, and then definitely one becomes one with the Brahman. But Swamiji, that is Krama Mukti, you are not talking about knowledge at all. That is, you have to understand that after this death, he goes to Brahmaloka and gains knowledge directly from the Brahman, etc., Brahmaji, etc., and then just one becomes free. So that is understood. But even if I say one becomes one with Ishvara after the death, you have to understand that Ishvara, if one becomes one with, has a Aikyam with the Ishvara, then definitely there is a knowledge. Otherwise, where is Aikyam? So you have to understand it even if I don't say. Kindly understand this, because this will happen that Upasana gives a mukti. It looks like here in the same way. That's how I'm clarifying here. Here it says tavat vichintya paschat tathaiva amriti dharayet. In order to, well, yavat chintya swarupatva abhimana swasya jayate. In one's own mind, that abhimana identification with the Nirguna Brahma arises, and tavat, well, so long, vichintya, one has to practice this meditation. Paschat, then first you are deliberately entertaining this. Then paschat what happens? Tathaiva. Tathaiva amrutihi dharayet. So one has to entertain this thought throughout the life. At the end of the life, well then, if you have this thought, which is based on your vasana, will is not there. At the time of death, there is no will. The last thought is influenced by your own vasana. Your vasanas is influenced by your lifestyle. And one person asked me the question, suppose the person is unconscious at the time of death, then what? He is unconscious. That subconscious or unconscious alone is the predominant. And if your mind you have saturated with this type of thought, that is at the level of subconscious. So even if your conscious mind is not there at the time of death, your mind is not conscious, your subconscious only influences. That thought is there without your notice. Please understand. And therefore, in any case, either person dies consciously, person dies unconsciously, your unconscious or subconscious only influences. Whatever is there in that subconscious will be there at the time of death. And therefore, one has to, only our effort should be, our subconscious should be saturated with this type of thoughts. Ishwar Vasana. That's it, nothing else. So I'm connecting the Smriti and Shruti both. Shruti, of course, Shatapada Brahmana, but Smriti also is Bhagavad Gita itself, and that is Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram, etc., etc. You know very well. There are 2-3 verses in 8th chapter which Bhagavan talks about at the time of death, if he has this Ishvara thought, well, he will become one with Ishvara. That reveals that one who is Upasaka. 8th chapter is predominantly talking about a Upasana. In fact, 7 to 12 chapters, he is a Upasana topic, but other chapters and this chapter are distinct. 8th chapter talks about a special type of Upasana, where 7th chapter, 9th chapter, 10th, 9th little less, but 10th, even 11th also Vishwarupa Upasana, etc. So what I am saying is, those chapters describe the glory of Ishvara. Well, one meditates on the glories of Ishvara, one gains one becomes free from the Vikshepa, etc. Gains knowledge, become free. That is a Jivan Mukti. So that's how Upasana helps in that. Saguna Brahma Upasana helps. One gains a Jivan Mukti. But 8th chapter talks about a person Upasaka who continues Upasana. He doesn't get exposure to the teaching, or he may not be interested, or he doesn't get exposure, whatever be the obstacle, let us say. Such a person continues Upasana. What will be his gati? That is the topic of 8th chapter. That's how 8th chapter is. It's distinct from in that group, Madhyama Shatkam. Yeah. And there Bhagavan very clearly says, even if he continues, if he meditates on me throughout the life, then he, at the end of the life, of course, definitely subconscious being saturated with my thought, that only will come. Will not be, no will be there at the time of death. As such also, will becomes weaker after 50. Habit only governs the life. Vasanas governs the life. That's so, because habits have become so strong that it definitely pushes the will away. Even if your habit is not good, you will not be able to do much after a certain age. And therefore will becomes weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. At the time of death, where the will is not strong, and therefore one cannot entertain. Well, I will entertain at the end thought. I will entertain that I will remember Ishvara at the end of the moment. Why should I do upasana throughout the life? You cannot. That's not possible. How the death is going to come, we don't know. Even we may not be able to hear, we may not be able to think. That would be the situation in that deathbed. We don't know. So, but either you are unconscious, either you are conscious. The last moment will be, well, will is not. Sometimes pain, etc., is too much. Then, your mind goes in the pain. Yeah. But here we are going to discuss this person, the Upasaka. Definitely, he is going to give example. That this Upasaka, well, suppose at the time of death he has a pain, something. Still, because of his subconscious is saturated with this thought, that only prevails. Therefore, definitely, and I just heard, I was talking to somebody in Ahmedabad day for yesterday, and that person almost on a deathbed, because she's 90, deathbed, she has a lot of problem with the breathing itself because her lungs get affected by something and hardly she was able to breathe and a lot of other issues. But since she's doing bhajan etc and japa etc since I think almost, if I know her since almost 25 or 30 years, I see every day she is doing japa and bhajan etc. Then at that time also, even her breath etc is having a difficulty and other issues are there, but she continued with the japa while people, her son and all, they are taking her into the hospital, private hospital. She has a japa in her. Doctors also, well, definitely, got astonished that she has all these issues and her attention is not there and somewhere else. But this is subconscious, saturated with this. So kindly understand this. So this is, and only contention is amritihi. That's why I discussed this. So, well, as I said, towards death, willpower is practically absent. Will is almost zero. And so Ishvara Smaranam, well, is to happen our, even at that moment, well, free will is not there at the time of death. It is not functioning. And therefore, basically control your subconscious mind with vritti avritti. Vritti avritti, vritti. Even for a day you do, I am telling you, just for a day. Suppose you join this our Tattvadit program. So they do this, Vishnu Sahasranama and they do Hanuman Chalisa and all 5 times, 10 times. You just do it one day. Just do. In that day, I am telling you, Hanuman Chalisa automatically will come even if you leave that program. It continues. For a day. For a day. Then what to talk of the person who has done for a length of time this Nirguna Brahmopasana or Saguna Brahmopasana, etc. That at the end of the, at the end of the life, at the time of Prana Kala, definitely that thought will be automatically there. That's it. I wanted to discuss that. Let's go to verse number 79. Brahmachari bhikshamanaha yutas samvarga vidyaya samvarga rupatam chitte dharayitva hyabhikshata. And to support this idea, now Vidyaranya gives certain examples. He quotes a case from the Shastra itself, from Chandogya. In Chandogya there are 5 chapters pertaining to upasanas only, first 5 chapters, and then later 3 chapters talks about this knowledge, self-knowledge. In the 4th chapter, 3rd khanda, well, there are first 8 mantras talks about a particular upasana called Samvarga Vidya. Vidya means upasana. Samvarga Vidya. And Samvarga means a resolver. And there, because basically Samvrujyate Sarvam Asmin iti Samvarga. Samvrujyate Asmin. So, there is a resolver at the level of Vyashti and there is a resolver at the level of Samashti. What is that resolver? Well, here prana is a resolver. At the time of, sleep, when you get a sleep, everything, your private world resolves into prana, because that is there, right? So definitely, what is there ultimately, even after resolving everything, well, then everything must have resolved there. So the Vyashti prana basically is a sambarga. And in a samashti, the same Brahman, see, there is a Vayu. Vayu is a samvarga. Because, the fire, the earth resolves into fire. Earth resolves into water, I'm sorry. Water resolves into fire. Fire resolves into Vayu. But sorry, further is there. But it's true. But here the Vayu is looked upon as a resolver of the creation, made up of elements. And that's at the samashti level. And at a Vyashti level, prana is a resolver. So samashti prana and Vyashti prana, both are called samvarga. Now, this person who is doing a meditation on samvarga, he already has a Vyashti prana, definitely. But that Vyashti prana is nothing but samashti prana, naturally. That is what it is. That's how it's called Sutratma. Sutratma. There is a one sutra, there is one thread which passes through all the beats, all the jivas, and that is prana. So samashti prana basically passes through all living beings. One samashti prana passes through all living beings. That samashti prana obtains in this body is called Vyashti prana. But that samashti prana, the Vayu, which obtains here, is called Vyashti prana. But that passes through all the living beings. That's how its name is Sutratma or Hiranyagarbha. So, basically, it's a manifestation of Ishvara only, right? Consciousness along Ishvara alone, consciousness with or Brahman along with the Maya manifest into first Akasha. So that's how Brahma Akasha. Puja Swamiji used to always say, don't say Akasha is born. Brahma Akasha. Yeah. So Brahman in form of Akasha. Then, definitely afterwards it is Vayu. So Brahman in the form of a Vayu. That's called Hiranyagarbha, which passes through all the living beings. All the living beings are beads, and that is the thread. Sutratma also it is called. Anyway, that Upasaka he has a Vyashti prana. He has identification with this Vyashti prana. That's how he says, I am hungry, I am thirsty, etc., etc. Or I am having a constipation, etc. So, Vyashti prana identification already has. But that Vyashti prana is nothing but the Samashti prana, Ishvara, that he has to meditate. Yeah. And therefore, he meditates on Samashti prana. Meditates on Samashti prana, which is of course a manifestation of Ishvara. That's Ishvara Upasana. Second Brahma Upasana, kindly remember. And if he continues like this, then definitely he identifies with not Vyashti prana, Samashti prana. He says, I am Samashti prana. Yeah, I am Samashti prana. So this is the instant has been given. So as a part of this Upasana, Upanishad talks about a brahmachari who has practiced for a long time this Samvarga Vidya. Samvarga means this Samashti Prana. And so now he himself looks upon as a Samashti Prana or a Hiranyagarbha. His mind, his subconscious mind is entrenched with this. And then definitely he is Upasaka, and so he feels hungry and he goes for Bhiksha. And he meets two people who are taking food at that time when he entered. They were having a lot of food. Their names were Kapeya and Abhipratari. And definitely the Supasaka Brahmachari asks for a Bhiksha. Somehow these two people, they thought that this Brahmachari who is asking for a Bhiksha, he is very proud of his Brahmacharya, etc. and or his knowledge, etc. And of course he was not, but these people superimposed upon that. And therefore they were taking food, they had plenty of food, but they denied food to this brahmachari. Anyway, So then this brahmachari says, what he says, that you are denying food, to me, to my hunger, he doesn't say. You are denying food to me means you are denying food to samashti prana, he says. Means you are, which resides in all, so you are denying food to all living beings. Samashti prana resides in all. That is how everyone feels hungry. So you are denying food to me means you are denying the food to samashti prana, means you are denying food to all living beings. That shows what? His mind is entrenched with samashti prana. Amazing thing. And that's what even Bhagavan said, Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashrita. I am the Vaishwanara in all, etc. So this Samvarga Vidya, Samvarga Upasana has saturated his mind, in his conscious mind. So when he is extremely hungry, see, what if the other thing is, when you are extremely hungry, you forget Brahma Vidya and you forget everything. He was extremely hungry, still his mind, there is a pain of his, hunger, pangs of hunger or something they say. So pain of is there, still his mind is saturated with that samashti prana. So he remembers samashti prana. Anyway, so these people, well, this Nirguna Brahma Upasanaka also, well, he is going to say about it, they also will gain ups and downs of the life, favorable, unfavorable will continue. But if their mind is saturated with, even though it's not a fact for him that I am Brahman, but his mind is saturated with this Aham Brahmasmi thought, well, then he is not going to be affected. Even though he doesn't have a conviction I am Brahman, still he will not be affected. Even the being a Upasaka itself, Nirguna Brahma Upasaka itself, his mind will not be affected because of the practice of Upasana. So Brahmachari Bhikshamanaha. Brahmachari, this Brahmachari of the Chandogya Upanishad, Bhikshamanaha, he is begging, he is asking for Bhiksha. Samvarga Vidyaya Yutaha. And he is saturated, his mind is saturated with what? Samvarga Vidya. His mind is saturated with this Samashti Prana, that I am Samashti Prana. So he is identified with that. So he does not deliberately entertain such thoughts, but it comes just naturally to him. Samvarga Urupatam Dharaitva Chitte, Samvarga Rupatam. He is on the form of a Samvarga, means Samvarga Aikyam Dharaitva Chitte, holding his mind, his oneness with the Samashti Prana, and he abhikshata. He asked as a Hiranyagarbha that you give a bhiksha to me. If you give a bhiksha, that will go to Samashti Prana, all the living beings. If you deny bhiksha to me, means you are denying bhiksha to Samashti Prana, means you are denying food to all the living beings, etc., etc. So definitely his mind is saturated with this thought. This Upasaka's mind, Brahmachari's mind is saturated with this thought. Even at the time of a severe hunger, he still has that identification. Verse 80. Purushasya ichchaya kartum akartum kartumanyatha shakyopasti rato nityam kuryat pratyaya santatim. Right now this, we are talking about this Nirguna Brahma Upasaka, who has this Upasana, Vritti, Aham Brahmasmi, etc. And before that we talked about Nididhyasana, Karta, who is doing this, who is having a Jnanam, and he does a Jnana Vritti, Avritti, Nididhyasana. And right now this Upasana. Again he will, from verse 88 onwards, he will again take up this, he talks about the Nididhyasana. So he is doing like this because he wants to compare Upasana and Nididhyasanam. Both have the same thing. Aham Brahmasmi, Vritti Avritti, same. Aham Brahmasmi, Vritti Avritti, Nididhyasanam. Aham Brahmasmi, Vritti Avritti, Upasanam. But here it is Jnana Vritti, here it is Jnana Abhasa Vritti, Upasana Vritti. That's the difference. So he's compared many aspects of it. And so it says, Purushasya Ichchaya. based on the will of this upasaka, kartum shakya upastihi. Well, it is possible to practice this visualization. Even though from a shastric angle that's a fact, he should not practice this kind of thing, aham brahmasmi, even though he is not convinced. He superimposes nirgunam brahma upon himself. He looks upon himself, visualizes, imagines himself as a nirgunam brahma. He should not do, because it's a fact. That's how I said, when I introduced this chapter in this session, I said that certain ideas are right ideas, which we call knowledge. And then wrong ideas are of two types. Rightly wrong idea and wrongly wrong idea. So that is what it is actually. So wrong idea, well, definitely means which is definitely wrong. You have a wrong idea, but it is wrong only. But there is certain wrong idea which you entertain, but in fact it is a fact. So this is this kind of thing. This upasaka visualizes or imagines, I am Brahman, I am Brahman. For him it is not a fact. But really speaking, from Shastra angle, from teacher's angle, from teaching angle, it is a fact. So it's a right thing. So rightly wrong idea is Samvadi Brahma. Wrongly wrong idea, Visamvadi Brahma. That's what we said. Yeah. So one looks, and we saw several examples. You look upon the rope as a snake. Wrong idea. And it is wrong. It is wrong. Yes, it is wrong. But you look upon yourself as a Brahman. Imagines. That is a Brahma for you. You say it is a Brahma. I am not really a Brahman. But anyway, Shastra says, okay, I am Brahman, I am Brahman. So he has that Brahma, but actually speaking, it's a fact. It's a fact. Yeah. Please understand this. And therefore, this is a Samvadi Brahma, which definitely helps a person. The Samvadi Brahma cannot help. Samvadi Brahma helps you. So Purushasya Ichya, and therefore it is based, this Upasana, of course, is based on a will. It's a karma only. Kartum Shakya Upastihi, well, one can do this. Upasti means one can do this kind of meditation. And Akartum Shakyam also. Sometimes you feel that, this kind of, instead of looking upon oneself as a Parmeshwara, let me look upon outside on this symbol, etc., as a Parmeshwara. That's better for me, Swamiji. I like this Saguna Brahma Upasana. I never like this Nirguna Brahma Upasana. Therefore, Akartum Shakyam, you may give it up. So therefore, instead of doing this, you may like something else to visualize as a Brahman or Parmeshwara. Or Anyathava Kartum Shakyam, instead of Akartum Shakyam means you just drop it. And Anyathava Kartum Shakyam means you visualize that Brahman as different from oneself. And so instead of a Nirguna Brahma Upasana, well, he can continue with a Saguna Brahma Upasana. In Lalita Sahasranama, etc., there is, in the Dhyana Shloka itself, it is there, Aham Ityeva Vibhavaye Bhavanim. In Dhyana Shloka, it's the Angra Upasana is said. Aham Ityeva Vibhavaye. Vibhavaye means I visualize. I visualize this Bhavani which I am going to, the Stotra which I am going to chant, Lalita Sahasranama. That Bhavani, that Lalita is myself alone. This is Angra Upasana. So you have a choice, You can choose to visualize the Devi as oneself. And there are people, male upasakas look upon themselves as a Devi. Yeah. And they wear dress also. Have you seen Swamiji? I have seen. And that person his name was Prahlad Bhai. He was from North Gujarat. He just passed away 2 years ago at the age of 90. And he was an unsolved case for even scientists and doctors. Because since 40 years, before that, last 40 years, he did not take annam at all. Nothing he took, in fact. Nothing. And doctors and all have visited him. And he was kept under observation, because how will you know you don't take? So they kept him under observation, and they found everything normal. Blood pressure normal, that normal, this normal. And that Prahlad Bhai was a upasaka of a Devi. And he used to wear a nose ring and this ring and bangles and saris also. And people also used to call him Mataji. Prahlad Bhai is known throughout the Gujarat, maybe in the other parts also. But in Gujarat, he was known as a Mataji. Yeah. So basically, a male person also can look upon himself as a Bhavanim. Aham ityeva vibhavaye Bhavanim. In Lalita Sahasranama, Dhyana Shloka it is there. So this is the way you want to look upon. Either way. So instead of I am Nirgun Brahma, etc., no, I am Devi. I am Lalita. Well, so kartum shakyam, akartum shakyam, anyathava kartum shakyam. In what? In upasana, because it's a karma. It's a karma, manas karma. Anyway. Or you may just drop upasana itself. Kartum shakyam. Anyway. Ataha means it is possible and therefore nityam kuryat. Since upasana is will based, nityam kuryat. The teacher is telling. Which teacher? Teacher of Vedanta is telling. To whom? To the student. That, well, do this upasana. Why should he say like that? Do upasana, I am Brahman, I am Brahman. He should say, you are Brahman, understand that. You are Brahman, you understand that. But he has to come down. This student is of a different type. Yeah, he has obstacles, lot of obstacles. And well, so, Nityam Kuryat, may you regularly practice this. Pratyaya Santatim, this kind of a flow of thoughts. Pratyaya, thought. Santatim, continuous flow. Well, you keep this in mind. Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Satyam Jagan Mithya, Aham Satyam Jagan Mithya, etc. But Swamiji, if I instead of Aham Brahma, etc., I am silence. I am silence. If I do, wonderful. Understanding what is silence, huh? Silence does not mean a absence of sound. Yeah. People think that absence of sound is silence. No. Really speaking, consciousness is silence, which illumines the presence of sound and absence of sound. That is really. So what obtains in absence of sound is you. Otherwise, how will you know that there is an absence of sound? In absence of sound also something is present, and that is you, the consciousness. And therefore consciousness is ever silence. Therefore aham shantah also can be. Shantam shivam advaitam chaturtham manyante sa atma sa vigneya mandukya. So any meditation you can take, but you should take what is equivalent, synonymous to consciousness. Aham shuddha hai, aham shuddha hai, aham shuddha hai. You can take that. Because some people may say, I am consciousness, I am consciousness, I am going. So I don't like Swamiji. Frankly speaking, one should continue that. But one should have that entrenched notion. One should saturate. That's not entrenched. One should saturate one's mind with this thought in any form. I am Satyam, I am Shuddha, I am silence, etc. Or I am Brahman, I am limitless consciousness alone. This thing. But Swamiji, that corresponding understanding does not arise. That if understanding arises, you are jumping into Jnanam. We are talking about that even though you are not convinced, you are not at all, you don't have a conviction at all that I am Brahman, do this. That is Upasana. That is Upasana. So don't go like this and getting frustrated. Don't go like this, oh, I'm repeating, I'm limitless consciousness. But then my mind says, how can I be limitless conscious? You forget about it. Just forget it. You are doing Upasana means you are superimposing. You are not convinced. But do it. You have to saturate your mind. Utilize your day by day like this. Don't waste time. Everyone is approaching the death now. It's a fact of life. And therefore, may you saturate your mind. Utilize your time. Even if you can't think that how I am consciousness, that is where the obstacle is. In order to, ultimately take care of those obstacles, you are doing this karma which will generate punya. So understand this upasana, this chapter is very, very important. Anyway, so this is verse number 80. Let's go to verse 81. Vedadhyayihya pramatto dhite swapne divasitah japita tu japatyeva tatha dhyata pivasaye. So how do we know? that this particular pratyaya, I'm Brahman has ingrained in my mind. How will I know? So he's giving two examples for that. So, well, in a dream, etc., without my knowledge, without my conscious mind being present, you prattle sometime in a dream, which is based on your repetition of a Jagrata Avastha only. People sometimes people talk if same thing in a Jagrata Avastha, they talk in a deep sleep also again. So they prattle. So basically, so he gives one example: Apramattaha Vedadhyayi. Apramattaha, very sincere, diligent Vedadhyayi, who is doing a Veda Adhyayanam, like in Vedic Gurukulam. I have seen them, they are chanting and chanting and chanting. They chant for hours, then they have a break. And then after food or lunch, etc., again they meet after 1 hour or so. Again they chant. So, well, Apramattaha Vedadhyayi, in traditional pathshalas, etc., well, they practice 5 to 6 hours a day. All Veda mantras of their own branch of the Veda, they repeat. Then your mind is basically saturated with this Veda mantras. And then, well, there's those Veda mantras, even sometimes he repeats in a dream, etc. And in Shikshavali, of course, these Veda mantras are taken for upasanas. You know, there is a Vyahruti upasana. Vyahruti means this Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha. These are the Vyahrutis. And then Bhurbhuva Swariti iti etas tisro Vyahrutayah tasam hoscha smaitam chaturthim, etc., etc. In the Shikshavali it comes. Yeah. So there is a Vyahruti upasana. Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, etc. And then there are Sandhi upasana also are there. Anyway, Samhita upasana. So Veda mantras become basically alambanam. Where student has got a Veda mantra in the mind. So what is there already in the mind, to meditate on that becomes easier. So that's how the students of this Vedic students, well, basically have been given this upasana. Either Samhita upasana, because they are learning grammar, they are chanting Veda mantras, they are learning Veda also. So based on that, Shikshavali talks about a Samhita upasana. Samhita means a Sandhi. That is a part of grammar, etc. It's the first thing, in fact. Anyway, so Samhita upasana and Veda mantra. Either Samhita becomes a alambanam, either Veda mantra becomes a alambanam. And Veda mantra means it starts with Bhu, Bhuva, Suva, etc. And so, student has got that Veda mantra in the mind. So, adhivasitaha. Apramattaha Vedadhyayi adhivasitaha. Vasitaha. So his mind is filled with vasanas. His Veda vasanas in his mind. Impressed with the Vedic thoughts. And such a person, since his subconscious mind is saturated with this Veda mantras, etc., Swapne api adhite. He is giving an example. In Swapna also, not clear, but he prattles. Of the people around him who are also sleeping, they find him that he is chanting some mantra, but may not be able to perhaps so clearly, but he chants. Apramatta Vedadhyayi Swapne Adhivasitaha Adhite. This is one example. Then he gives a second example, and that is Japitatu Japatyeva. Suppose a person has done a Nama Japa throughout a day, that Japakarta will come to his mind even in the dream. They give an example of Appaya Dikshita. Well, he himself wanted to know whether his subconscious mind is saturated with or imbued with this Lord's name, etc. or not. So he was having a Gurukulam kind of a thing. He was a great teacher, Appaya Dikshita, and even also so many rachanas also are sung in this. Anyway, so, and he was a devotee of Lord Shiva. So he wanted, and everyone knows this kind of a thing, that at the end moment, if Ishvara's, the thought of Ishvara comes, well, I will definitely gain moksha, etc., karma mukti, etc. And therefore, he wanted to check whether his mind is imbued with this Shivanama or not. And so he drank one a milk of some tree. Some trees have, when if you break the leaves or branches, milk comes out. He drank a particular milk of a particular tree and became unconscious. But before that, he told to his disciples, just check, well, what I utter in that unconscious state. Well, and then once I become conscious, then you let me know. And then he became unconscious drinking this. And and it happened so that he was chanting all Lord's name, Shiva's name, even in unconscious state. So when he came to a conscious state, well, his brahmacharis or students told him very well. So this is what it is. So that's an example. Japita tu japatyeva. One who has done this nama japa constantly, japati, in unconscious state, in a dream state, etc., he same nama he repeats. Tatha, in the same way, this Vedantic student who is not convinced that I am Brahman, of course, and he is Upasaka of the Nirgunam Brahma, Vasayet, well, he can also saturate his mind with Aham Brahma, Aham Shuddha, Aham silence, etc., I am silence, etc. With this thought, he can saturate his mind. Then, well, that will help him after the death to unite with Brahman, gaining knowledge, etc. in Brahmaloka. So, verse 82. विरोधि प्रत्ययं त्यक्त्वा नैरन्तर्येण भावयन् लभते वासनावेशात् स्वप्नादावपि भावनाम्. So that, in the previous shloka, tatha dhyata api vasayet, dhyata upasaka. In a similar way, the upasaka also should constantly meditate, saturate his mind with these thoughts, etc., with the thought of Aham Brahma, etc. So that part is now elaborated little. And two examples are already given. One is the one who is doing this Vedic Adhyanam, etc., chants Vedic mantra during a day, 5 to 6 hours, etc. Well, definitely his mind is saturated with Vedic mantra. And the second example given of a person who is doing a japa. So it says here, Nairantaryena bhavayan. Well, so this Aham Brahmasmi, etc., that vritti, etc., well, can saturate the mind of Upasaka. Nairantaryena. Nairantaryena means without any gap. Bhavayan means vasayan. Well, this he also, without any gap, continuously, do this, entertain this thought, Aham Brahmasmi, etc. Virodhi pratyayam tyaktva. Well, certain counter thoughts. I am a samsari, I am this, I am actually a seeker. Well, the mukti I will gain this time in the future, etc. All this, virodhi pratyaya, etc., you negate deliberately. And then, even during, if it happens, then even during difficult situations, bhavanam labhate, the upasaka gets same saturation as that Vedic student or that japakarta. And so that is, Bhagavan said, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. Sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara. Well, sarveshu, constantly remember me in one part of your mind. Initially conscious mind. Start with a conscious mind. And so when you have to do something else, that will go. Then again do. Then again when you become free, you do. Then, again you become free, you do. Then it happens that you do anything on one part of your mind that goes on. That's called Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara. Smara in the conscious mind. That will happen as a Anusmara. Amazing. It's a faculty of the mind. You just chant 20 minutes of Shriram Jairam Jai Jairam. Just chant 20 minutes. And then you start doing something else. I'm telling you, in one corner of mind, this will go on. That is Anusmara. Kindly remember this. Anusmara is a very important word there. Bhagavan said. Smaranam means a conscious mind. Repeat. But then, Anusmara. Because Bhagavan knows that person has to do, his life has to, he has to sustain his life, he has to do a lot of activities. So sarva sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhya cha. Do your duties also. I mean, daily chores. Then at the time of death also, well, if you do this, definitely that will surface even if you have a lot of pain. So labhate bhavanam samskara, vasanas, etc. Aham brahmasmi, etc. That thought will come even at the time of death, even though there is a pain, etc. Or you may be unconscious also. Because of this entry of the vasana from conscious mind to subconscious mind. Vasana aveshat. Avesha means here we will to take it as a predominance of the vasanas or entry of the vasanas in from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind. Sapnado api. Even in sapna also, you engage in the sapna of that type only. So this is a thing. From 83 onwards, we will see next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.